On today's show, Team Canada has a disastrous day. What does that mean moving forward for this summer and for SGA?
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, media member, and beat writer for Sports Illustrated, Rylan Stiles. Follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Follow the show on Twitter at LOThunderPod. Check out Sports Illustrated Thunder for all of your written Thunder content needs. A great team over at SI Thunder, who you all will get to know very shortly on this show in the coming days as we try to get through what is the dog days of the summer, especially now that the Olympics are over for really anyone, associated with the Thunder. I mean, you saw Josh Giddey be erased by Serbia. You saw the Thunder crew of Dort and Shai get taken down, get upset by Team France. So this just was not a banner day if you're looking to prolong basketball for the men up until the NBA season. But when you look at what happened to Team Canada today, you can be left with your head spinning. Because here's a team that for the last year has felt like a lock to medal. Dating back to the FIBA World Cup last year, where they get bronze and, they have a successful summer. Heading into this year, they get placed in the group of death, but they're still viewed as the second most talented team in the field. They somehow navigate that group of death, which earned its name with how quality, teams came together from Australia. You had Greece, you had Spain. They certainly earned their name of the group of death. Somehow Team Canada goes 3-0 in that setting. So they go 3-0 in the group of death. Then they wind up on the opposite side of Team USA, taking on France, who, of the field remaining, one of the more incomplete teams in the field, but a team that presented a bad matchup for Canada. And I think that you saw styles-made fights. And we're going to talk about this game more in depth, but the fact that if you're a Canadian or someone who has any rooting interest in Canada, that it's set up to where you were a game away from the first trip to the semifinals since 1984. The U.S. was on the opposite side, which gave you the easiest path possible to the gold medal game. You cannot get an easier path there than not being on the same side as the powerhouse. And then you lose in the quarterfinals to a France team that on paper had no business beating this Canadian team. That cannot be described as anything but disappointing and anything but, frankly, disastrous. Because you now sit with this for 4 years. 4 years. Now, do I still think that Shai will be awesome in 4 years? Of course. Jamal Murray can't be any worse in 4 years. I mean, this was a dreadful showing from him from start to finish. But do I still think Shai will be awesome? Of course I do in 4 years. And they'll have Zach Edey. I still think that Olympic RJ Barrett will be something special in 4 years. It's not as though this run comes to a screeching halt, but you did have it all in front of you right now. Right now it was in front of you. This team was a 7.5-point favorite against France. And when you looked at the way the bracket shook out, should you have gotten out of this game, it would have been incomprehensible for Canada to not medal. Because had you cleared this game, the only path to no medal is 2 straight losses, which that bracket didn't have 2 more losses in it. But it did have this loss today, which ends everything. And this was just surprising. But I think it goes back to how matchups are so important in basketball. Because who has the most pound-for-pound talent Team Canada by far. But on this night tonight, who was the more aggressive team? Who was the most physical team? Who imposed their will inside on both ends of the floor? France, France, France. France was a better basketball team today. Canada was a better collection of talent. What they did with that talent was Jamal Murray couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. Dylan Brooks was out of sorts from the word go. Dwight Powell couldn't play dead in the Western. He was awful. And against the team that has Wemby, has Gobert, didn't play him in this game, and there's conflicting reports of if he has an injury or not, but even their non-NBA bigs gave Dwight Powell and company fits. The only person who showed up in this contest was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That's it. I think that Lu Dort made fantastic plays down the stretch, but it certainly did not start good for him. Now, to his credit, he's one of the very few players who started bad and didn't finish worse. He started bad and got better as the game went on. He made impactful plays that had they gotten over the hump, when they got this game down to 5, when they got this game down to 3, when they got this game down to 7, like had they finished it off, then Dort made plays in those sequences that we would have looked back on in a win and said that really changed things for Team Canada. That really changed things for the way that they were trending. Everyone else on the roster, again, Shai excluded, because Shai was relatively consistent. Of course, he got off to a slow start as well. I think that was a more product of how bad his teammates were around him. You can even exclude RJ Barrett because comparatively to the rest of this roster, Barrett found productivity. But this is, by any measurement, a disastrous day for Team Canada and an embarrassing upset that they're on the wrong side of. I think that if you're a Houston Rockets fan right now, go check out Locked On Rockets. The way Dylan Brooks has looked when the lights have gotten the brightest, that's exactly why Memphis was willing to let him go. That's exactly why you should be fearful as you hope to be put into more pressurized games and into more important matchups. Dylan Brooks, not the guy you want to lean on emotionally, not the guy you want leading you, not the guy you want at the forefront. That was abysmal. If you're a Nuggets fan, you hope that Jokic is just a magic elixir. And to his credit, he is. Like, everyone's dancing around wondering what's wrong with Jamal Murray. I think what's wrong with Jamal Murray is there's no Jokic. The drop-off from playing next to Jokic to Dwight Powell is significant. And I think that you're seeing that Murray is a little bit of a product of his environment. Now, he's not this bad. There's no way that Jamal Murray is 3 for 13 bad and as bad as he's shown in these Olympics. I would not be surprised if it comes out in the coming days that Jamal Murray was dealing with blank, dealing with a hamstring, dealing with a pinky toe injury, whatever it is. Because he certainly did not look even remotely close to his NBA form. But highlighted in this was that his NBA form is at its best when you pair him with a quality big, which, you know, if you're looking at Denver, you've really got to keep that tandem together, because I think if you tried to even move on from Jamal Murray, well, I don't know if they will or won't try to, and if that time ever comes, but if that time does come, I would, if I was an NBA front office, I would look at this Olympics and think long and hard and be very scared of what Murray looks like without Jokic. Now, granted, you pray to the high heavens that in the year of our Lord 2024, if you're an NBA team, you're not relying on Dwight Powell, which is automatically going to make life better for Murray. But he was dreadful. And the fact that Brooks and Murray are waving off SGA for even so much as one possession, much less the most critical possessions of the game, is laughable. Team Canada was not prepared. They were not, ready to go out of the gate. They did not bring the necessary physicality. You can cry all you want to about the officials and about the home cooking and about the foul count. Listen, foul counts are not supposed to be equal. It's supposed to be, did you foul or not? And you judge them individually. I don't give a crap if this team has 50 free throws and this team has 2. Who's doing the fouling? It's that simple. And I think by and large, were there some ticky-tack calls that went against Team Canada? Sure. I can grant you that in any basketball game that's ever been played, ever since they've had peach baskets, I can grant you that. But is the officiating why Team Canada lost this game? Or even reasons 1, 2, or 3? No. The officials did not force Team Canada to not come out of the gate with any energy. The officials did not force Team Canada to not come out of the gate with any physicality. And the officials did not force Dylan Brooks and Jamal Murray to wave off SGA. They just did not do that. So we've got a long list of things that went wrong before we talk about the officials. The only sort of revenance and kind of happy note, if you're an Oklahoma City fan, is that your 2 guys played well. I mean, again, Lu did not play well at the gate. He was on ball a little bit too much. He was kind of, you could make the argument that he was pressing a little bit and trying to do too much early on. But as he settled into his role, he played well. And he played really well down the stretch. And if you would have came back in this game for Team Canada, he would have been a big reason why. And then SGA consistently from the opening tip to the final buzzer played like a superstar, played like one of the best players in the world. But the stark reality is you had everything in front of you if you're Canada. You had a game where Wemby was not scoring. He was doing other things to impact this game. Wemby was impactful. He was not scoring the basketball particularly well. I mean, he had 7 points, and 2 of those were off of a travel, a meaningless, possession that did not matter at all. You had Gobert, who could not get on the floor but for 4 minutes in this one. And it didn't matter because they went and really dominated this game. Got up by 19 points, really controlled it for the vast majority of it. Yes, they did let Canada come within 3. They did let Canada come within 7, come within 5. But eventually that lead continuously ballooned up back to double digits every time. This has to be one of the most disappointing moments in Team Canada history, I have to imagine. Now, Locked On Raptors, they'll know way more about the history of Canada basketball. I will not pretend to be an expert on that, but just from the outside looking in, when you have everything like this lined up in front of you, goodness, what a disaster. What a bad day. We'll talk more about this, plus your mailbag questions, all coming up. But first, I want to say right now, about our good friends over at Game Time, check out the Game Time app right now. I love the Game Time app because Game Time allows you to get last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. That's right. The Game Time app is there for you with flash deals, with zone deals. And again, last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed, saved up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, all that good stuff. I love the all-in pricing. I love that you get everything up front. There's no surprise fees at checkout. I also love the view from your seat. You get a panoramic view of your seat at the venue that maybe you haven't been to before. Maybe you've never sat in this area of a venue before and you want to see what it's like. You can go check it out there. Go there right now and download the Game Time app. Create your account. Use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms and conditions apply. Again, create an account. Redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. We're back on the Lockdown Thunder podcast on the Lockdown Podcast Network. Your teams every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen. We're here for you talking Thunder basketball. In this case, Canadian basketball. Check out Locked On NBA for the national scene of basketball. Also, Locked On Sooners, Locked On Pokes as the respective schools hit fall camp. So we're still talking Team Canada a little bit here. We've kind of gotten it all out of the way, but I do think that you saw SGA put up a monstrous performance, 27 points, 5 boards, 4 assists, a steal and a block, and it felt like he was just trying to will Team Canada to a win. Lu Dort had 8 points and a steal, and he goes 1 for 4 from 3. Arguably got fouled on one of those 3-point shots. The shot attempts didn't go to the line. The reality is, right, you wish all the personal success on these guys. You know it's important to them to win for Canada and to win for their home country. It's great that they came out of it unscathed. And from a basketball standpoint, they immediately walk back to a much better situation. The Oklahoma City Thunder will be quite the reprieve for Dort and Shai than playing with Team Canada in the sense of like winning, being competitive, and having a fleshed out roster around you. It was great to see Shai on a huge stage scale like this. It's something that I think that gets lost because, if you're listening to the show, especially if you're listening to the show on August 6th in the year of our Lord 2024, you are bought in and you're consumed by Thunder basketball each and every day. And I can't thank you enough for that because you're what keeps the show on the air. And so it gets lost that like not everybody's tapped into Oklahoma City. And even though the Thunder rattled off 57 wins last year, even though the Thunder were the number 1 seed in the West last year, not everybody paid attention. Like they still hardly played on NBA, prime time. They still hardly played on national television. Even in the playoffs, they played the Pelicans. That was an uneventful series. They all were in the first round. It was a sweep. And then the Mavericks series was awesome, and that was like a moment where it's like, it's in your face. It's Shai, Luka every single night that they're on the court, and like that was a great stage for him. But Team Canada also represents one of the few, all eyes on me type of stage in the basketball world for Shai since he's became this level player. Because again, even last year they didn't have a boatload of national TV games. Now that's going to change whenever the schedule is announced, whenever that may be. That's going to change. Spoiler alert: the Thunder will be on national television a lot. I mean, they're one of the best teams in basketball. They're projected to be the best team in the West. Like they have the star power. Chet, JW, Shai. So they're going to be on there probably weekly, almost. But to this point, they hadn't been. So it's great for him to get onto that stage and be someone who could show his personality. Ben Golliver, who's there covering it for the Washington Post, the Olympics, that is, he had a good tweet about how Shai went to the interviews even after getting eliminated, which is something that other superstars like Giannis, like Jokic, had not done in the past. So he wanted to give credit to Shai for that. And I think it's another example of just what Shai has turned himself into. We talk a lot about it on the court, like he's turned himself into back-to-back top 5 MVP finishers, but he's also turned himself into this like brand and this ambassador for the game, this icon of what you want the face of your franchise to be. He has a social media presence. He has the fashion niche, whatever you want to call his fashion aspect of it. And then he has that marketability with the commercials, and he has that just it factor of, after game 6, who was talking? SGA, who made that foul on PJ Washington, who could have just kept everybody waiting for 5 hours and not come out and not talked. It was SGA front and center talking about how the game was on him, and it was kind of all on him and everything else, right? Like he took accountability in that aspect. You just lost a heartbreaker to France. Like I know that you want to give credit to France and everything else. Everybody knows that the better team on paper was Canada. They were favored by almost 8 points. Like this was supposed to be a Team Canada win. It's a heartbreaking loss because you just did not have your best stuff today. He comes out and faces the music and what I assume is still a very emotional aspect of You have all these dreams and visions, and this was supposed to be your year to go toe to toe with the USA and go win a medal, and you get nothing to show for it in the sense of no hardware to show for it. So, to his credit, he did go out there and talk with the media who made the trek out to Paris. So Ben Golliver pointed that out. I thought that was good of him. I thought that that's just kind of who Shai is, as Joel Lorenzi points out as well, that like this is just what Shai does. He doesn't shy away from that aspect of his job, and some other players do, some other players don't fulfill that obligation in the sense of the NBA contractually it's obligated. I don't think it is in Paris, of course, but he still does it. But Shai is always willing to be front and center and take the bullets of whatever just happened, good or bad. And I think that's a great thing for Shai. I mean, this is a guy that talks nightly at home. I mean, there's rarely a game that goes by where Shai's not at the podium, and I'm sure that it gets tiring. I'm sure that there's nights he doesn't want to do it, but he does it, and I think that that's really cool as someone who is a symbol for the face of your franchise. If you're a fan listening to the show right now, but I thought that he was great. The entire Olympics, I thought Lu Dort had more good than bad. And for Team Canada, the ride is now over. The ride's also over for Team Australia, but Josh Giddey was excellent in that loss. I know he had the blunder, surprisingly, as an inbound passer, but he was still, when it all came out in the wash, excellent in the Olympics. But I think that we've talked about that point enough. You can go back and find the previous shows on Josh Giddey. Very easy to find. He's always in the title or thumbnail when he's brought up. And so you can see what we think of his Olympic run, which I think is good for him individually, but also highlights why that trade made sense for Oklahoma City. And so the Olympics for the Thunder in any way are kind of behind us, right? And in a weird way, I think that like for the population of Oklahoma City is behind us, even though Team USA is still in the running and still the favorites to go win gold. It felt like a large portion of the community really only cared about Team Canada and cared about Shai and Dort and rallying around those two guys. So they'll have to wait 4 more years to see how things shake out. I think with the Olympics, though, another interesting aspect of it was Noah Eagle and Dwayne Wade teaming up in the booth. They were excellent. Like that was a fantastic crew. Still is. They're still commentating the rest of the Olympics, but they were awesome together. They played off each other very, very, very well. And you see NBC getting in the game of basketball, of the NBA contract television agreement next year. D Wade has done some work for TNT and for NBA TV. I could see as that shifts over to NBC, I think that they should be in the running for one of these spots. I mean, you're going to have 7 days of national TV games in the NBA once this new TV deal kicks in next season in 25-26. I really think that there's not going to be very many crews who could do better than Noah Eagle and Dwayne Wade, who were just awesome in these Olympics and were awesome to listen to throughout Canada's run and still are going strong with the rest of Olympic play. So a disappointing ending for Team Canada, but still a really, really good showing from Shai. And again, more good than bad from Lu Dort, so that's always good. He played his role very well. He did exactly what you'd expect Lu Dort to do. And I just think that both these guys, Shai and Dort, life gets easier for them in a couple months whenever they're back with Oklahoma City, when they're back with the Thunder. Coming up, let's answer your mailbag questions. But first, I want to tell you right now, but our good friends over at eBay Motors. That's because eBay Motors, they understand that passion, drive, patience, that's the formula for winning a championship. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle. Level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, check out eBay Motors right now. Go check them out today, because with over 122 million parts to choose from, your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for with eBay's Guaranteed Fit. It's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, your money back, because with eBay Motors, you'll be burning rubber, not cash, with all the parts that you want to choose from. Check it out today and make your car the MVP and bring home a huge win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Motors Guaranteed Fit, only available for U.S. customers. We're back on the Lockdown Thunder podcast, on the Lockdown Podcast Network, your teams every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you, talking Thunder basketball. Folks, subscribe to the show anywhere you get your podcast from, including on YouTube. We're going to have a lot of stuff coming out over there as the next season ramps up. Also, check out SI Thunder, Sports Illustrated, all of the written content for the Thunder over there. It's really good. I really love our team over there. And check out Locked On Posts, Locked On Sooners, Locked On NBA on the Lockdown Podcast Network. We're also going to get into your mailbag questions today as the Olympics wind down for Team Canada. At Fate Loves Irony, rank players who would be the biggest impact on if they got injured based on skill and replacement capability level behind them. So I think that this is like a pretty clear-cut top half, and then things kind of get interesting. So Shai, number one with a bullet, Chet and J-Dub 2 and 3, regardless of how you want to order those two guys. It's Shai 1, then Chet and J-Dub. If any of those three guys get hurt for a significant amount of time or have to miss, the important stretches of the season, whether it's postseason or whatever, if any of those three guys get hurt, it's over. Like this team, yes, it's built with great depth. Yes, this team is built to win a championship. You do not win championships in basketball without the top three. The top three guys must be strong. You have a top three that looks on paper to be a championship caliber team, but they're only going to go as far as those three guys take them. So it's going to take Chet and J-Dub being better than they were last summer in the playoffs. They've got to be better this playoffs coming up. And if they're not playing, of course, they can't be better, and thus, you can't make your final destination goals. So those three guys, if any of them go down, it's over. I mean, there's the hopes of the season are over, and you now pivot your expectations to something else. But the hopes of a championship and everything else, and that's just cooked. It really is. Now, past that, the fourth guy is not going to be one of the last two remaining starters, because I do think that the Thunder will start Shai, Dub, Chet, Caruso, and Dort. The fourth guy is going to be Isaiah Hartenstein, because I think that when you look at Hartenstein, if you took him out of the equation, you're back to what you were last year, which you don't have enough rim protection to cover a 48-minute game, even in the playoffs when you feel comfortable playing guys more and playing guys heavier minutes, you still don't have enough rim protection. And so I think that would inevitably doom you at some point to where you would need Hartenstein to kind of cover up what you eventually got him for. And again, as you mentioned, when we be talking about the whole how do you fill in for him, you fill in for Hartenstein getting hurt by putting J-Will back in that predominantly backup five. We've seen that song and dance before. Whereas if Lu Dort or Caruso went down, yes, it would suck. Like, those two guys are so good, and this is such a talented team at the top. But you can patchwork Caruso, Joe, Wiggins, and they can spit out an aggregate that results in what Caruso brought, what Dort brought to the table. So, like, that's why Hartenstein edges those two guys out, who then come in behind him. I will say Caruso a bit more important than Dort, only because I believe more in Caruso's playmaking. I believe more in Caruso's ability to guard up in position and size. And I think that his three-point shot is a bit more reliable. Caruso, that is. So I'll go Caruso, then I'll go Lu Dort. And now you're back down to, like, this is why you've got a deep team. So, like, if Isaiah Joe goes down, that's going to be brutal for your shooting. He's one of the best shooters in basketball. But your depth of Wiggins and Wallace, should be able to handle that. And even if you need to throw Dylan Jones in there, AJ Mitchell in there, like, they should be able to handle something like that. So I would go Joe, because he has that elite three-point shooting trait after those guys we just mentioned. I would go Wiggins, because he can, like, if you lose Wiggins, who can fill in for 4 of the 5 positions, now you've lost a lot of depth and a lot of guys who can plug in for when the inevitable happens. Like in an 82-game season, you're going to have a twisted ankle. You're going to step on a cameraman. You're going to have an elbow to the face. Like, you're going to have something happen. So I will go with Wiggins, because he can cover up so much. Kaysen, because Kaysen, his ability to just hound you defensively. And if you, like right now on paper, you have the ability to suffocate teams. Because when Chet's not in there, Hartenstein is. When Dort's in there, Kaysen is. When Kaysen's not in there, Caruso's in there. Like, or all three of them are in there. And you just never get a break from the relentless aspect of this team. And so I think that like losing that bullet in the chamber, so to say, defensively would hurt. And then from there, we've kind of listed all of them. I think that you can easily navigate not having Oos and any of the rookies. You can navigate not having J. Will if you had to. You can navigate not having Kenrich if you had to. So you can kind of just decipher them for your own sake at that point. But that's kind of where I would go for like who's the most valuable players on the team in terms of who you couldn't live without. Now we're moving on to more of your questions. Again, this one from Fate Loves Irony. Which NBA teams match up the best with the Thunder and provide the biggest challenge? So we're going to have this be a bigger lead topic on a show in the future. But for right now, the Cliff Notes version, what's so interesting about this Thunder team is there is no simple answer. Like there is no, oh, this team will give the Thunder fits, because I want to see it. Like for example, last year, everybody was shaking in their boots to go play the Lakers and the possibility of playing them in the first round. Well, what does this team look like now against LA when you swap out Giddey for Caruso? Whenever you swap out J. Will being the second best big, the Hartenstein being the second best big. Like, what does this team look like at that point? How does that change the dynamic of what the Lakers can do? And that's just one example of a team that, like without question, no matter what colored glasses you want to wear, the Lakers did give the Thunder trouble. Could they still give this iteration of the Thunder trouble? I personally think that the Thunder have done enough to combat that. And the Thunder have done enough to not have that be a massive issue. But they've got to go prove it. And so, like right now, like I think that you can talk yourself into them fixing all of their holes from last year because they won 57 games. They took the Mavericks to 6 and a 0-point differential. Like there was not this massive amount of teams who caused the Thunder heartache. And the ones that did, I think you've done a lot to address. Now, as Sam Presti mentioned in his exit interview, whenever you go and scramble to fill something and fix something, inevitably sometimes you fix one thing and now a new problem arises. Right? You patch up this hole in the boat and another one springs up. And you're just chasing your tail a little bit because you can never quite build a perfect basketball team. You want to get as close to perfection as possible. So that way, one springy leak does not sink the ship, and you're not just shuffling chairs in the Titanic, but you're never quite going to get a perfect remedy. What's this season's Achilles heel? What's this season's, hey, they don't match up well with that team at all? Because like last year, the Thunder were better than the Lakers in every measurable category except for when they played each other. When they played each other, whoa, like this team matches up well against what the Thunder are trying to do because they're so athletic and long, which is not what was being used to describe the Lakers in any other matchup. But they had the benefit of packing inside the arc, funneling you into AD, and then spraying out to your corner shooters so that way the driving kick stuff wasn't there. Plus, they were harassing Shai with so many long defenders to throw at him whenever he'd go inside. That now, you've got to respect Caruso a bit more. When you're kicking out the guys, you can get the shot off quicker and more efficiently. What does that look like? What does that matchup look like? How do you defend that matchup now? And maybe the Lakers still will be a problem. But I think that they've done enough to address that on paper. I'm curious to see who that next team is. Because again, even for a 57-win team, the Thunder still had some teams that gave them more problem than others. Right now, though, it's almost impossible to pick on paper. Because any team you want to throw out there, you can really make a strong argument for. This Thunder team is just better. They're just better. Let's continue taking one more question, then we're going to do this again for more shows. Because, frankly, folks, we're in the dog days of summer, and there's not much to talk about now that Team Canada got ousted. Jay Teledubby at Thunder Fan Wolf. Other than Lu Dort, which Thunder player could make the NFL? Hard Knock starts tonight. That's a very rhythmic show. Like every season's the same. They're going to have you fall in love with some 6-string receiver who they will inevitably cut for a punter, and you're going to be really sad about it. You didn't know who he was three Tuesday nights ago, but all of a sudden now he's a part of your family. But I fall for it every single time. The special teamer who didn't start playing football till sophomore year of college is going to come make a massive tackle in the second preseason game, quarter number 3. It's going to win him a job. He's going to call his family and bawl his eyes out because he made the team, and I can't believe it. And you're going to start crying too because you feel like you've been with this guy every step of his journey. You didn't know who he was 2 Tuesdays ago. That's the beauty of the NFL. The NFL can sell you on anything and make you love it, make you need it, make you feel a part of it. And Hard Knocks, the very best at it. I watch all forms of Hard Knocks, and every time I fall for the rhythms of it, even though I know it's going to happen. I know you're setting me up tonight in the Hall of Fame game for this receiver who scored 3 touchdowns to get cut in a couple Tuesdays from now. I know you are, but I'm going to fall for it, and I'm going to just be all in. So who could go through Hard Knocks and make the team? Number 1 with a bullet, besides Lu Dort, is Casey Wallace. I mean, Casey Wallace would be an all-pro safety. This guy is special when it comes to ball hawking. I think he has the toughness to make some hard hits. So I'm going to go with Casey Wallace as the answer. That also feels like a layup, just like Lu Dort is a layup. So I wonder what J-Dub would look like at football. He never really talks about a football background. I don't think he has one. Mark used to be a tight end, I believe he said, in Massachusetts. You know, maybe he could have made the club. Really gritty guy. I mean, I think that Mark would have been a nice 5th-year senior at UMass. Like the 5th-year senior, he's been in the program a long time. He understands how to instill value in the midshipmen. What are they called? The Minutemen. Midshipmen are the Naval Academy. The Minutemen, I believe, is what they're called. He understands how to instill that Minuteman value into the youngsters. Never sees the field. Then on senior night, he comes out, scores a touchdown. The crowd goes wild. And then he goes sells insurance. Luckily for Mark, he went down another path and became a coach of the year. But nonetheless, I will go Casey Wallace. By far, the simplest answer. If Adam Flagler had a few more inches, be a really nice receiver. But couldn't we all use a few more inches? Shout out to Hard Knocks. Shout out Matty T, his Bears on Hard Knocks. I'm sure that we'll fall in love with Caleb Williams, although a sour subject for half the state, at least. But nonetheless, enjoy Hard Knocks. Enjoy your Tuesday. And until next time, be good and be good to one another.